All right, the class recording didn't record at all for last time we met and talked about password cracking. So I'm going to record just a quick video here, go through the slides and show you the few examples I did in class. One thing that we had going on is we had Jamie McGuire from High Point Networks come in and show us how to do some password cracking using Hashcat. And if you take a look at the class shell, get in here real quick, CIS 282. I have posted that video, and I highly recommend that you take a look at that video if you didn't get a chance to watch it live or you weren't in class. He did a very, very good job of showing how the process works on our level. Super smart guy, and it was very interesting in my opinion. So I think it'd be well worth your time to take a look at that. One note about what some of the tools he used Hashcat, and Hashcat uses your GPU or your graphics card to do the cracking of the hashes. And Kali, inside of a VM like I have running and most of you have running, you're not going to be able to use Hashcat because the VMs don't allow direct access to your graphics card. So you'd have to, if you want to use Hashcat, there might be a way you can get it to use the CPU, and I've posted that link right here. And actually I should turn that into a link, but I posted that link right there, and there's a couple things you can install to try to get Hashcat to use your CPU. But anyways, I had some slides here that we went through in class. I'll talk about a few of these and show you a couple examples. So why attack passwords? And we said in class that these are often the weakest link in an organization's defense because it's human weakness. People have bad passwords. We talked about some of the password security breaches that have been out there, and there's millions, if not billions, of passwords out there. And what they've noticed is as they've taken a look at these password files is people use dictionary words, and when they have to have uppercase, they put them at the beginning, and when they have to have numbers or special characters, they put them at the end. And our patterns are becoming very predictable, as well as we're not storing those hashes in a very secure manner for some of the operating systems and applications that are out there. Also, default credentials. I cannot stress this enough. We'll talk a little bit more about it in the next slide, but many people fail to change the default credentials, so that's very low-hanging fruit that an attacker will go off of. So there are several repositories of compromised passwords available. Doing a quick Google search, you'll find many different types of files you can download. Kali has one pre-installed that we'll take a look at here today. It's called the RockU password list. That Jamie that I mentioned who did the password hacking demo, he mentioned that in a conference he goes to, I think it was if you bring them 2 4 terabyte drives to this conference, they'll give you 8 terabytes worth of password files and rainbow tables and those sorts of things. So they are out there, and if you have a weak password, it's going to be cracked. So first, just a little bit about default credentials. Default credentials are very easy to find. I have a few links. I'll just click on this first one, for example. But let's pretend you're working with Shodan and you run across maybe a Linksys router on Shodan, and you want to figure out if you can get into it using default credentials. So on this site, you would scroll down to Linksys or whatever device or brand you run into, and you'd click on the Linksys link. Here it is. And then they have a bunch of their different models. So here's the WRT54G, was a very popular router back in the day. It's admin with no user ID. Scrolling down here, some of their newer models. Admin. A lot of default credentials for a lot of different devices are admin or password administrator, password, those sorts of combinations. We talked about how there is potentially some hope, though. Manufacturers are getting better at this. What they're starting to do, I've noticed, is instead of having default credentials, they will have unique credentials for each device, but they'll be printed on the bottom of the device. Obviously, if you had physical access to that device, you would be able to see what the password is, but that's much better than just a plain old admin. Also, I've seen where some devices are tied to like a web portal. So you'd have to actually log into the web portal, which hopefully has a better password than admin. So there are some different ways in which manufacturers are trying to get away from those typical default credentials. There's a few different types of attacks we talked about. We have a passive online attack. With a passive online attack, you are essentially just sniffing or listening for that password. This is your classic man-in-the-middle attack, where in this graphic down here, the victim's going to send over their credentials. Well, the man in the middle here intercepts that traffic, can look at it, analyze it, and then play it back to the web server, and then catch that return traffic as well. This is a little bit harder to pull off. We'll do something similar with our lateral movement lab later on, but I just wanted to mention it here, that this is, a potential way in which hackers can get passwords using something that's, simple as Wireshark. Active online attacks, these are going to attack a live service on a system like SSH or Telnet, or maybe like a web form or web application. They're going to use a brute force or dictionary attack. Some of the tools that are out there to do this are Hydra. Metasploit has a few modules. AirCrackNG, which I'll show you here in a minute when we crack WPA2, is essentially kind of an online attack. The one I like to use is Hydra, and what Hydra will do for you is, in the case I'm going to show you, is live attack a process, and I'm going to use the SSH process. In order to do this, though, you need usernames, and how can you get those usernames? And we talked about some different ways in which we can get some usernames, and in class someone mentioned, hey, when we did the passive discovery lab, we were looking for email addresses in an organization. And for example, here at BSC, you could find the directory listing, and you could see that the email addresses are like matthew.freilich@bismarckstate.edu. So based upon that, a typical username to try would be matthew.freilich. A lot of organizations' email addresses mimic their usernames. There's also some good utilities that you can find where you can plug in an email address and it will kick out a bunch of permutations for possible usernames. So we'll take that email address like matthew.freilich and then kick out some possible usernames like matthew.freilich or m.freilich or matthew.f, and you'll probably get 50 to 100 different usernames based upon one email. What you would do then is you'd take all those possible usernames and you'd put them into a text document, and you would tell Hydra to use that list of usernames. In my example, I'm just going to use one user. So I'm just going to kind of start off this process from the beginning. I'm going to use my Kali machine, and I'm going to use my Metasploitable. So I'm going to go to my Kali machine, and I'm going to hop on the command prompt, and I'm just going to do an ifconfig to see what IP address I have. And I've gotten a different one here, so give me one sec. This is something I was doing in my other class. Need to change this. It's grabbing an IP address from my server instead of VMware. It's the problem when you got multiple classes and servers, or multiple classes and VMs that you're trying to work with. Reconnect this thing, and I should get a new IP. That's what I expected. So I'm 192.168.86.141, and the Metasploitable machine has 192.168.86.130. So I'm just going to attempt to ping from Kali over to the Metasploitable to make sure I have communication, because if I don't, none of this is going to work. And I get a reply back, so I'm good. Okay, so one of the first things I would do to start off this process is I would nmap Metasploitable, and that's the IP address of 192.86.130. And after this is done, I'd probably run an SSScan on it too. I'm not going to go through that. But what I do notice here is an interesting port of 445. And 445 is listed as Microsoft DS, kind of a directory service. What this is actually used for is the server message block and a few other things. And in Nmap, there is a script we can use to try to enumerate some usernames off of this port. So I have that in the slides. So I'm going to do an Nmap. Remember, you can add some scripts. One of the scripts we did before was the banner. But I'm going to do the nmap -- script smb enumerate users over the port 445, and then the target is going to be my Metasploitable machine. So I'm just going to copy and paste that into Kali here. Put in my target. 192.168.86.130 is my Metasploitable. Yours will probably be different. Again, I'm nmapping. I'm going to run a script to try to enumerate some users over that port that I discovered that's open and my target machine with the IP address. And I hit enter. This is going to take a little while, and it's going to spit out a bunch of usernames that it can grab based upon that script in the port. So I'll let this finish here. And here we go. Most of the accounts that it gathers are disabled. So if I sift through this, I see a lot of disabled counts. But I do see a few that are enabled. So I have the user. It's just a normal user. His full name is just a user 111. And another one that I have that is not disabled is the MSF admin. Here's another one. I have Nats. He's a system admin. Oh wait, his is disabled. Never mind. Here's MSF admin. So he's not disabled either. So what I would probably do is I would create a text document and list any of the users that are enabled inside of that text document. I'm not going to go through that trouble. I'm just going to use this particular user here. And what I also notice with my Nmap is I do have SSH over port 22 open. So just to show you this, I could do an SSH and a -L for the login of user and my target 86.130. And now it's asking for user's password, so I'm going to try password. And I'm going to be not successful. Okay, I'll try password 123. That doesn't work, and I'll try let me in. That one doesn't work either, and I ultimately get denied. So I could sit here, and try 3 times and then get denied, and 3 times and get denied, and that could take a very long time. Instead, what I could try to do is use Hydra to try to compromise that SSH service. In order to do this, we need a word list, and we're going to use the RockU word list that is built into Kali. So that RockU word list is in the USR share word lists. And if you do an ls, what you're going to see in here is yours is probably currently compressed. It's probably going to say rocku.txt.zip or something to that effect. Can't remember exactly how it looks, but you should be able to unzip it by doing a gu. It's going to be gunzip and then the name of whatever the RockU zipped file or tard file is. After you unzip it, it's now going to be listed as rocku.txt. I'm just going to do a cat on rocku.txt, and you can see how long it is. I think it's like 135 or 133 megabytes in size. Got about 14 million passwords, I think, in it. So I could sit there and let it go through this whole thing. I'm going to Control-C it to stop it, though. Okay, so I have my word list. I know I have SSH available. I know I have a user now. So now I'm going to use Hydra to try to get into that. So I'm going to start off with this first part right here, and I'll add the next part later. Paste that in there. That is my Metasploitable. I'm using the user of user I discovered using the word list of Rocku. Note that I am in the directory of where Rocku exists. If I wasn't, I would have to specify it with something like this: USR share word lists Rocku. Okay, and I hit enter. And what it's going to do is it's going to try 16 tasks per server. And I got, like I said, 14,344,000 tries. And it's just going to sit here and try password after password after password based on that Rocku word list. Now I let this go the other day for about 5 hours, I think, maybe a little longer, and it eventually got it, but that's a little long. One thing you can add to the Hydra, Control-C. I'm not sure what I did here. I'll just close this out. Control-C, so it should stop it. The nice thing about Hydra too is if you do stop it, or Control-C worked, you can restore it as well. You can get it going again by doing the -R to resume it. So if you had to stop it for whatever reason, you wouldn't have to completely start over. You can do a -R to restart it. Anyways, what I was going to add on here is the other part I have on the slides, which is the -E and then NSR. And the N stands for null passwords, the S for same, and R for reverse. So what this what this will do is it will take a look at the username, and it will do a no password, just leave the password blank, which it won't do by default. It will also use the username for the password as well. So it would try user for username and user for password. And then it would do the reverse of those as well. And I always like to add the switch on there because a lot of people don't use a password. Sometimes they use the same password as their username, and that what happens to be the case here with this user. So I'll let this go for a few seconds, and it should find it. And when you find something, it's going to show in green that it found, and there we found it. So it found the login of user and the password of user. So if I want to now try to SSH into the machine, logging in as user, password, user, and I'm in the Metasploitable now. So that's Hydra. A little bit of a contrived situation here, but hopefully you get the idea. Find some usernames, find a service, let Hydra run with a word list and see if it can't kind of brute force something for you. Another active online attack would be attacking wireless. If you guys were in my CIS 147 class, we did a WEP attacking lab where we found a WEP wireless network, and then we used AirCrackNG to crack that process. I'm going to do the same thing right now, trying to crack WPA2, which is the latest security version as of this video. And what I'm going to find out is essentially what happens is I can capture the handshake process. So when a client authenticates onto the WPA2 system, this is going to capture that process and we can crack that down and find the password. So keep in mind what this is going to give us. This is going to give us the password so we can get onto the network. It's not necessarily going to allow us to sniff the traffic that's already on that network in a plain text fashion. You may have seen that WPA2 recently has been compromised and that it's no longer secure. And that's what it's referring to, is being able to listen to the traffic on the network where you're being able to see the information in an unencrypted fashion. And that's kind of in a perfect scenario too. It's not, hasn't been compromised on all the devices, I should say. So I'm going to attempt to show this here. And in the shell, I actually listed the commands that you would need to do this. So if you want to try this at home with your own wireless router, if you have WPA or WPA2 encryption set up, you sure can. And you would need, however, an actual physical wireless card that you can plug in to your Kali machine. So I am just going to pause this because I need to plug in my my wireless card, and then I'll. Okay, so what I'm using is I have a Panda wireless brand little USB Wi-Fi adapter. It's the model number PAU05. And the reason why we chose these is they'll be natively picked up by Kali. They allow the sniffing mode or the monitor mode, and for 10 or 15 bucks you can't go wrong. Once you plug that in, you got to make sure that your Kali machine recognizes it, and it does. It recognizes it as a Raylink device. So let me quit this session here. Excuse me, exit. Okay, so I got that password crack document open here, and I'm just going to use it to copy and paste my commands, and you can do that too if you want to do it just to make things simpler. But the first thing you would do is you do a Airmon NG, and Airmon NG is going to verify that it picks up your wireless card, and it also is going to give it the name that we need to reference. So mine's going to be WLAN0. Sometimes you'll see it as like WLAN0mon if you have to put it into monitor mode. The beauty of these cards is you don't have to put them into monitor mode. Okay, we'll do an AeroDump NG WLAN0. This is going to start sniffing for the wireless networks. So I'm going to start sniffing for wireless networks using my card. And what I start to see here is a bunch of networks. And there's one in particular that I've planted, which is a CrackMe WPA2. And the information I need from that is its MAC address or its BSSID. So I have that. I also need the channel it's running on. It happens to be running on channel 6 this time around. Last time around it was channel 1. So I'll have to tweak my command here a little bit. So the next command here is to target our access point, which has that MAC address, target its channel, and then I'm going to create a capture file with this name, again using my wireless LAN 0 card. So I'm going to have to tweak this a little bit after I copy it in. And you would have to for yours at home as well. Didn't copy, let's try that again. There it went. So my BSSID, that's correct. C05627, C05627. My channel is not. My channel is now channel 6. And I'm just going to call this file video for the video that I'm recording. And I'm going to hit enter. And now it's targeting that SSID, or excuse me, that access point, I probably should say. It's starting to pick up some data and some traffic going across. And what I want to do now is I want to kick this particular station. So I have one station connected to that Wi-Fi. You know, typically in a Wi-Fi, you'd probably have a longer list of stations connected. You know, 2, 3, 4, you know, tens or hundreds, possibly even connected to a particular access point. And you can pick one that you want to kick off, and then what usually happens is the user has selected to connect automatically back to the Wi-Fi. So as soon as you kick it, it's going to connect right back, and you capture that handshake process of it going right back. So I need to leave that running. Open up a new terminal window. Grab my next command here. So it's an AirPlay with a DAuth. I'm going to send 100 DAuth authentication packets. I'm going to target my access point again here using my card. And then I'm going to target a specific client. You could get away with just this, but your odds of success aren't as great as if you can target one particular client to try to kick off. So that's what I'm going to do now. Make sure everything looks good there. Okay. So I'm going to start to send the deauthentication packets, and I want to watch over here, upper right-hand corner, for a handshake capture process, and I got it. So I was able to capture that handshake because I successfully kicked off that machine, and then it connected right back. So if I went back and looked at the computer that I'm deauthenticating, I'm going to see that the wireless is going down and then connecting back, and going down and connecting back. So I'm going to stop this over here. So I already got the capture process, and then I want to take what I've captured and I want to crack it down. So I'm going to crack my capture, and I called mine video, and I'm going to use that word list of RockU again. I need to change a couple things on this because my capture, and actually I should show you what you need to do, is first you do an ls to see what capture files you have, because if you had to stop the capture and start a new one, you might have like the name 02 or 03. In class, when I did it, I had to do it 6 different times. So you always want to use your latest capture file. So it would be like capture-06.cap. So I'm going to now do the crack process. Okay, so my file name is video-01.cap. I'm going to use a word list. I'm going to use that word list of RockU. .txt. Okay, it goes through, checking through all of the words in that word list, and it found it. So baseball 21, that is the password to get onto the Wi-Fi. So if I wanted to test that out, I could go to my Wi-Fi and I could turn it on. Oh, I need to take this out of monitor mode here first. So easiest way is just unplug it, plug it back in. Connect it back to Kali. Select my network. Should pick it up. There it is. Hit connect. It's going to ask me for the password to connect to that. And we found that it's baseball 21. And I'm now on. to that network. Okay, I've been authenticated. So that's kind of almost a hybrid attack. We're almost doing man in the middle because we're sniffing some traffic when we sniff that handshake, and then we're essentially kind of live attacking that capture process. So if you get a chance at home, give it a shot. Offline, for an offline attack, you do need the hash. This is what we're going to do for our lab this week, and I'll show a quick couple of examples when I present the lab, so you'll want to watch that class video. But the Windows hashes are located in the SAM file. There's some different ways in which you can get the hashes from that SAM file. You could get it from a computer that's offline. Basically, mount the hard drive on a current system, go and grab that SAM file. You can use pwdump is a good tool that will go and grab the password hashes from a live system. Loftcrack, you're going to do that for the lab. This is a free/paid tool. You get a trial. That's why I say free to crack Windows passwords. Offcrack is another one. Cain and Abel, John the Ripper, Hashcat. I mean, you name it. There's a wide variety of tools you can use. So you can kind of, pick your favorite tool that you like to use and start to learn the syntax and start to use that. Linux passwords are stored in the etc shadow file. So for the lab, I have a shadow file you guys will crack. And another thing I was going to try to show you, but I didn't get a chance here to get it working, was dumping the domain controller through Metasploit. After you have compromised a system with a reverse meterpreter shell, you can then fire up a post module, and you can gather the credentials, essentially dumping all the hashes from the domain, and you can start to crack those down as well. Other techniques, shoulder surfing. Look over someone's shoulder, ask for it, social engineering. Find the sticky note. People put sticky notes all over the place, on their computer, under the keyboard, where have you, and has their password. So if you have physical access, sometimes that's the easiest thing to do. Keyloggers, quick Google search, found me a hardware keylogger for 40 bucks. Go to a public computer, plug this in, then plug in the keyboard into this end, come back the next day, and this device is going to show you all the keystrokes that came through that computer. I might have to do some parsing through to figure out what the passwords are, but I'm guessing you could probably figure it out relatively easy, maybe after they go to a site. So you'd see that URL go through as keystrokes, and the next thing is probably going to be username, password. So those are just some other password techniques that I wanted to show you. If you get a chance, play around with it a little bit, try these tools out. I'll make you do some of them in the lab. Watch that video that we had from the High Point guy, and just kind of make yourself familiar with it, because it's sometimes your way into the network if you need to. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.